Service solutions transition to the live environment need to be operated because now users are using them and everything should be running well for the users. Therefore, this means the technology platforms and systems need to run well. The system's performance and availability need to be ensured. There should be routine tests every now and then, for example, continuity testing, security testing, and so on. And the usual operations activities such as backups, system and application monitoring, then capturing and processing events, and so on. We will also see afterwards that there are also reports and dashboards created from an operations perspective so that it is clearly known whether operations are running smoothly or not, and certain actions can be taken based on that. So this means that operate enables services to be delivered as designed in line with service providers' commitments to customers. So this is where the smoothness of operations is established. And the live services need to comply with relevant policies and guidelines. For example, testing continuity measures and information security controls, renewing security certificates that are about to expire, and updating licenses as well. The service architecture can influence the operate activity. And again, this activity may be shared between the product vendors and the service providers. For example, if a product includes components hosted in a vendor-controlled cloud and components installed on the service providers or service consumers' premises, then different parties may be responsible for operating different product components and connecting network solutions. So it's possible that the product vendor has some components to be monitored and the service provider has other components to be monitored. But they will have to have a regular discussions together so that they can collaborate to ensure everything is smooth and running and resolve issues whenever necessary. So this activity of operation is normally invisible to customers and users. But when it affects their service, such as availability, performance, or if there's an incident, then they will begin to wonder why operations are not smooth. Of course, when incident occurs, then it will trigger the support activity of the life cycle. So such instances should be avoided where there is degradation of service, and otherwise it creates value leakage for the users. And we have seen earlier that every lifecycle activity contributes to the success of the product and service lifecycle. Therefore, even during design, build, and transition, there has been attention to operational considerations. And good operation means services are reliable. Now, the word reliability needs an explanation. This is the ability of a product, service, or other configuration item to perform its intended function for a specified period of time or number of cycles. We had that definition on the previous slide. It came to my mind because we now have the site reliability engineering. Let us take a look at that first on the right. It is a discipline that incorporates aspects of software engineering and applies them to infrastructure and operations problems with the goal of creating ultra scalable and highly reliable software systems. So what this means is SRE treats operations as a software problem. It removes the toil. Toil means unwanted repetitive work, which should be done, but it can become monotonous and dull for the people who are doing it. So these should be automated. So these are basically manual, repetitive, reactive work which can be automated, which doesn't have enduring value. For example, running incident diagnostics, responding to repeat alerts, manually starting failed services, handling the provisioning or access requests. A lot of these could be automated. And the SRE focuses on the SLO. SLO is the service level objective. These are specific measurable targets for service performance or reliability. For example, how well a product or service should operate. So therefore, it relates to user experience. Some good examples of the SLOs are successful web requests. Availability is one of the most important SLO. Other SLOs could be number of successful logins, response times, latency, error rates, how many tickets should be completed automatically, and also what is the cost of failure. So it means that the failure need to be detected as soon as possible so that it improves the mean time to restore or MTTR. And in SREs, they have shared ownership with the developers. SRE is more an operational role, but they will have shared ownership with developer. For example, they will bring the wisdom of production to the developers also. They will give feedback to the developers for improvements. They will also focus on error budgets, which means they will put some limits on how many failures are allowed for every failure type. And there can be an error budget policy also, which means what should be done when the error budget is exceeded, meaning when the failures are exceeded. And they also use this term known as service level indicator, which is the actual achieved SLO. So the SRE is a vast discipline. We offer trainings from One World Training. We have the SRE certifications, which are given out by PeopleCert, but we offer courses for SREs, both the foundation and the upper level certification, and even DevSecOps. So here we see on the left side, the scope of operate for a particular product depends on product architecture and design. And modern digital products are designed for highly automated operation, but legacy older systems may require manual maintenance. But even modern product includes hardware, then the operate activity is likely to have some manual or semi-automated checks as well. And similar tests, minor updates, and maintenance that are manual or semi-automated. Now, digital product operations have moved from reactive to proactive approach, and they're able to integrate well with the other stages of the product and service lifecycle. And we have seen just now that for proactiveness, organizations adopt site reliability, engineering, or SRE. Earlier on the previous slide, we noted a point about when the product involves components hosted in a vendor-controlled cloud, and components are also installed on the service providers or consumer premises, then the responsibilities differ between the various parties. So which means that the servers are in the cloud, whereas the database is in the consumer premises. So therefore, operations need to be looked into very carefully. Then lack of attention to operations, that was another point during the design, build, transition. There should be consideration of the operational activities. Otherwise, there can be problems afterwards during operation, delivery, and support. I'm emphasizing those because you will get more clarity on operation, and those are also can be useful for the exam. So here we have the statement that to operate digital services effectively, organizations need to understand past, current, and predicted state of services and their components. And therefore, this requires a new level of product observability in modern, complicated, complex technology environments. What is observability? On the right, we have the ability to understand the internal state of a complicated system by analyzing its external outputs, such as metrics, logs, and traces. What this means is it makes us understand how the system works based on the information it produces. So we are going to capture the information it produces, and that will give us a good understanding of how the systems, components, applications, infrastructure, whatever, how they are working. This is a bit different from the usual monitoring because monitoring provides only the alert data, but observability provides complete data all the time. And this is key particularly for cloud environments. And it is also a key aspect of AI ops, the automated operations, like detecting, resolving incidents, issues, and so on, without manual intervention as much as possible, even forecasting, understanding trends, and proactively preventing incidents. Now, trace, this is the path of a transaction or a request. When the request starts until it is fulfilled, it will track all the activities that happened. Similarly, any transaction, such as a financial transaction or anything else, will be tracked from the beginning to the end. So that's traces. And then we have the logs, such as event logs and health logs and error logs and so on. And then we have metrics, which are specific measurements that can be made. Therefore, we have two powerful concepts, SRE and as part of that, the observability. These allow organizations to gain deep insights into system behavior and enabling product teams to identify risks quickly, optimize performance, and improve reliability. These have been widely adopted in the recent years in service operations. And however, in legacy systems environment, these are not possible so easily because those systems were not designed for observability and reliability. Even the product and services need to be designed for these purposes.